Hi, my name is Frederick, bakery trainer for Kangan Institute. Today I'm going to show you how to make a croissant. Basically, when making a croissant, we have two stages of doing it. So probably mixing the dough, rolling the dough, and then baking the croissants. I will be starting off with my part one of this, making the croissant dough, which includes a lamination too. Before we start our demonstration, I just like to remind everybody, food safety comes first, so we need to wash our hands before we start. Number two, we need to look about all our occupation health and safety, so we need to make sure that everything that we do here is safe to do. So we got a nice, lovely planetary mixer, which is in good condition. It does work well, and we do have dough hook, which is going to be used for mixing the dough. Alright, and my place is clean. We got all our ingredients done here, which I will be going to go individually while I start my demonstration. Right, so if everybody wants to have a nice look at these beautiful croissants that we are going to produce today, come enjoy this video. Step number one, we need to wash our hands well. So make sure that it's nice warm water, 20 seconds at least in your hands. Put some soap in your hands, right? Soap everywhere. Wash your hands. If you have your tea towel, just wipe your hands before we start. Step two, let's check the ingredients out. Ingredient number one, we got some plain flour, which is 150 grams. Baker's flour, which is 200 grams. 40 grams of fresh yeast. And if you do not have fresh yeast, and if you want to try dry yeast, you will be only using 20 grams of dry yeast. We also got 200 mils of water. Water can be a little warm, lukewarm, or even if it's just normal, that should be all right. So what we are going to do is we are going to test our strength of the yeast. So that will be our first step that we are going to do. So I'm going to just drop this yeast into this bowl, into this planetary mixer. If you want to do it by hand, you can still do it by hand, but if you have a machine, you can do it by machine. And also I'm going to drop the baker's flour also into the bowl. Right. So we have got the machine ready, the flour is in, the yeast is in. So remember, only two ingredients have gone into my machine. The third one, I'm going to start the machine. While the machine is on, I'm going to throw the water in. This step is totally meant to check the strength of the yeast. So what I mean by that, I'm going to tell you how this is checked. To check this out, what we are going to do, onto this mixture, we are going to add the third ingredient. If you remember, I said we had 4 ingredients. So there are 3 ingredients in here: the water, the strong flour, and the yeast. And this is going to be your 4th ingredient which goes in. Alright, so we just put the plain flour on top of this mixture. Don't mix it together, just flick it on top so that it is smooth and nice. And this is what we do here now. We're just going to leave this aside, and we'll keep it for about 20 minutes, right? And within that 20 minutes, this yeast is going to get activated, and it's going to produce its gas for this dough to grow up. So we are going to leave this aside for 20 minutes, and we'll come back and see how it will look after it is shown its strength. Right, 20 minutes later we have something like that. So if you can have a look, this is how we can identify that the yeast is pretty strong, it is fresh, so it is going to really work. So we have got this into this stage now. In another term, if you say, it's called a sponge method. So what we have done that. So while that's growing up in the corner here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start off with stage number 2. I got 750 grams of baker's flour, 100 grams of nice softened unsalted butter. I got 80 grams of caster sugar, and I got 350 mils of milk, full cream milk, remember, and we also have 25 grams of salt. And I'm going to put this baker's flour first into the bowl. As I said, guys, if you do not have this machine, you can always mix it by hand. It's not very hard to mix by hand. Next I'm adding is the salt. So I've added 25 grams of salt. I'm adding the butter, adding the sugar, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off the machine to just mix up all those ingredients. So I'm just going to start off the machine in a slow speed. While this has got mixed, combined well, I'm going to use this into the dough. Bring it down, remove the safety guard, and throw these in. The other ingredients, going to close the machine, alright, lift it up, alright, and then we slowly start mixing. Mixing on, the last ingredient which goes in is the milk, which is going to go slowly. We have half mixed the dough here. So what I'm going to do next is basically remove this dead dough into the bench. Right? Yeah, I'm just going to give a bit of a mixing by hand. Alright, so alright. The dough, just work it with your hands. So the pattern of working with the hands, go in, bring it out, go in, bring it out. Make sure your bench is clean too. Alright. Your final dough should look like this, a bit smooth, nice. Right. If you want to continue doing it in the machine till it you can, but I just took it out of the machine to show you how it should look like. Your dough temperature should be around 24-23 degrees, so that but it will be very suitable for your lamination purpose. The next one we are going to do is laminating the dough with butter. Right, so that's the butter I'm going to use. Right, it's a nice butter sheet. If you do not have a butter sheet, you can always make a butter sheet, but if you do have, I'm pretty sure it's available everywhere, so you can buy a butter sheet. So before we start laminating, I'm going to rest this dough for about 10 minutes, and then we start off laminating this dough. While you're resting this dough, you need to make sure it's nice covered with either a piece of cling wrap or a wet cloth, so that the dough doesn't dry while it's resting. Stage 2 of our croissant dough. We did mix the dough, we looked at it, count well, you have seen it with your hands, and you feel it, it will be a very nice soft dough. So the next thing what we are going to do is we are going to laminate the dough. Alright, so usually when you do a lamination, you're going to add fat into the dough, or probably butter into the dough. Alright, so as I mentioned earlier, we have got some super butter, which is really meant for croissants. Alright, and I need, for this whole dough, I need 375 grams of butter, which I have got it here for lamination purposes. Remember, there is butter inside the dough too, but this is only for the lamination purpose. So this is how the lamination is going to take place. With the lamination, what I'm going to do is, there are 3 ways of doing lamination. A French method, one's called a English method, and one is called a Scottish method. So what we are going to do today is the French method, which is more like a butter filled into an envelope. Alright, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just cut the dough like this. Alright. Not thorough, just a cross in the top. Right. Basically, if you look at it, right, so still have to have the top, right, and then this comes this way. got it like a cross. Alright. And then slightly top. Next thing what I'm going to do, I'm going to place the butter in the middle. Then what I'm going to do is just, if you have seen how an envelope is folded, that's how I'm going to do it. So I'm just going to fill this up. Right, so it's like an envelope. Right, so you should make sure that the butter does not come out of the dough. Right, and then, like closing an envelope, there we closed it. Right, and turn it around, make sure all the, so we have placed the butter in. Alright, so we have blocked the butter in, we could call it. We have done the blocking, and now we are going to roll it out. The rollings can be done in different ways. There is one rolling called a 3-fold or a half-fold, and then there is another rolling which is called the 4 folds or the book fold. Right. So what I'm going to use today is going to be the 3-fold, right? And I'm going to do it 5 times. So what I mean by 5 times is that whatever the rolling that I'm going to show you now has to be continued for 5 times. Just keep on repeating the same way of doing the rolling. But in between every rolling, we have to rest the dough for at least 5 to 10 minutes in the fridge. Because while we roll, the butter gets to get the effect of getting soft. So we need to keep the butter nice and solid. So after every roll and turn, we keep it in the fridge for a couple of minutes before we start doing the second or third, fourth, fifth rollings. If you want, you can just dust some flour on the bench, all right, so that it doesn't stick to the bench, and then take your rolling pin and then just go straight. Roll the dough to a nice rectangular piece. So as I said, I'm going to use the method, the 3-fold method or half-fold. I can give you a bit of an illustration on how the book fold is done. So before I start the 3-fold, I'll quickly show you what a 4-fold or a book fold means. A book fold means you take the 2 corners, right, bring it to the center, right, and then this part of the dough should go on top so it will look like a book. Today I'm not going to do a book fold, I'm going to do the 3 folds. So it's nice rectangular piece. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring one corner of the dough exactly to the middle here, alright, and the next corner of the dough goes over it, right. So I'll repeat it again. I got the first dough coming into the middle and then the second dough go over it. We are going to rest the dough for 5 minutes. So always, to keep everything clean and clear, what we usually do is after every fold we are going to give it a bit of a sign like thing that can make you remember how many folds we are given. So we have given the first fold now. What I do with one finger, I just put a hole here so that you know the first fold has been given. Then we rest it for 5 minutes, we bring it out, repeat the same folding, right? So you just rectangle the dough, bring the folds in, and then when the second fold goes in, with your 2 fingers mark 2 there, so you know it's the second fold. Continue with the third, continue with the fourth, continue with the fifth. All 5 rolls have to be having a 5 minutes break in between, and after every fold make sure you put your numbers on top so that you don't forget how many folds you have given, because we don't want too many folds or we don't want too less folds. So the folds have to be perfect. To keep that on, we do this trick, right? So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to wrap this in nice cling wrap. So I have wrapped it on a cling wrap, alright, and this goes into the refrigerator, not into the freezer, into the refrigerator, the fridge, right, for about 5 to 6 minutes of rest. Alright guys, so we had a 5 minutes break for the first roll. So this is how you do the second one. So you take out your dough, alright, again rectangular. Again, so again the same fold, right? It's a 3-fold. So this goes up, or you can always have this inside and then this up, right? With your 2 fingers. That's our second roll, alright? And take your cling wrap. Wrap it. And in the fridge again. So this process has to be repeated for 5 times. So we are done twice now. We need to make another 3 more times. And once those 5 times are completed, we wrap it and we keep it in the fridge again, right? So that we keep it for 24 hours, and the next day we take it out, we roll it into nice thin layers, and then we start cutting the croissants. Always remember guys, the tips that we need to remember in this croissant making: the butter should not be very hard for lamination, the dough should not be very soft, so it has to be basically equally balanced for us to do the proper rolling of lamination. So we had done already 4 rolls now, so this is my last folding that I'm giving in. Alright, so it's the 5th time that I'm doing this. So if you see around here, the butter has distributed into the dough very well. That's the purpose of laminating a dough, because that will give you the layers when you start baking a croissant. So make sure that there should not be butter everywhere. The butter should be distributed very equally into all the corners of this dough. For that purpose, we do all these foldings, because the 5 foldings will help you to distribute the butter through the dough. That's my 5 finger marks, so that means we have completed this making of this dough. So guys, so that's basically how you prepare a croissant dough. We have come to an end to our part 1 of this whole process. I covered it with cling wrap. I'm going to put it in the fridge now for 24 hours. When we come back tomorrow or after 24 hours, we are going to roll that croissant and shape it into a nice croissant. So if you do have any questions, feel free to comment on YouTube for me so that I can answer all if it's possible. So I hope you have enjoyed this demonstration. Hope to see you again in my next part, where I will show you how croissants are rolled and baked at what temperatures. Thank you guys, and have a nice day. Enjoy baking.